Well, hello there. Thank you for joining the real journey of the entrepreneur. We are really excited to have you join us again to really dive into the discussion of what entrepreneurship looks like. It is not what we see on social media. It is everyday individuals who have had and taken the courage to be able to step into the process of self-sufficiency. Um, the focus of this platform is to let you know that the journey of entrepreneurship is really dope and amazing. However, it is met with real life growth experiences. And we are here to share with you what that looks like from the perspective of a mother, an entrepreneur, and a community advocate. And so the real journey of the entrepreneur pretty much focuses on everyday individuals. My name is Anita Pierce, and I'm the host and producer of the real journey of the entrepreneur. I own a business consultancy that was founded in 2017 called 11375. And we provide foundational education to small businesses, nonprofits, and we close the learning gap with individuals who have the courage to step on this journey of entrepreneurship. We also serve as business and community advocates that facilitate socially relevant workshops that promote overall wellness in the key areas of finance, economics, mental wellness, and also civic engagement. And combining all of those things to make sure that there is social impact connected through the entire thread. I may be familiar to you in another platform because I am a coach with SCORE. And so if you are in need of services that you can take advantage of for free, please check me out on SCORE. And so I have the distinct opportunity of interviewing a wonderful consultant who has an extensive background in human resources and also in doing government contracts. So I want to welcome to our show today, Ms. Christlie.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for coming and would love to learn more about your journey. So we're going to kick off. I had a chance to glance over your bio, and it's extensive and wonderful. So tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do at this stage.
Yeah, awesome. So first and foremost, I'm a wife, I'm a mom. Those jobs are the first. And then after that, I currently am the main business partner for Christlie Consulting. I started this human capital firm as pretty much a means of understanding my impact in the HR world and the fact that I can broadcast and do it outside of the 9 to 5. And then I'm also the chief operating officer of my husband's real estate development firm. So it's twofold, but it's pretty fun. I've been in the HR world for a little over 10 years. I can't believe I'm saying this. A little bit over around 10 years in so many different industries. And so started off in the retail industry, very basic manager, working my way up to the bigger role, which was the global human resource business partner of a cybersecurity IT firm located in Silicon Valley, California. And I think for me, I had reached a point where I was like, well, I had already started my business, but to give it my all, I really couldn't because I was busy being a global business partner, right? And so I actually took a leap. I was pushed into my entrepreneurial world where I got fired from my 9 to 5, right? We ended on wonderful terms, and I'm so glad that I did get fired. And she was just like, you got a lot going on. This isn't for you. It was great, and it was what I needed, and I'm glad that I did it.
Wow. Okay. So I don't even know where to begin because I mean, mother, being a wife, in real estate and now having this other arm of your business. That is very full, very full.
Yes.
So now curiosity is getting more to me. Like, how do you manage?
Someone asked this, many people ask, like, how do you balance? There isn't a perfect balance. I just prioritize really well and I time block. So I don't allow myself, I'm very driven and disciplined in that manner where I know that I need to get this contract out. So I time block. But I will say this, and I will say this on every single platform that I ever get a chance to scream at the mountaintop. I am highly rich when it comes to family. I have one of the greatest support systems, in my opinion, in the entire world. I am able to pick up and go at my own leisure because I have the ability to put them anywhere, right? With people that I genuinely trust and love. So I don't, I had an interview yesterday and I watched my mom play with my son in the backyard, right? She was there for a week. I flew my aunt in for a week while I went to Africa. Like, there just is this richness of support, and that is the balance for me. That's how I manage, where I do have the helping hand where they'll cook for 3 days, right? If you ask my son, and he's 3, when's the last time mommy's cooked? Child, he don't know. But the food is on the table, right? And I think because of my support system, my husband's family, my family, I have more arms working at the same time that I am. And so it pushes me to do more and go after more because I can support, I can give them the funds to be able to come out here for a week and stay with my son. So that's how I balance.
No, that's great advice. And I know, like, for myself, it is a trusting act. It's not really a balancing act. It's a trusting act of, leaving your child with someone, making sure that, because the truth is no one will care for your child as good as you do.
No.
That's the truth.
No.
However, when you're embarking on this space of entrepreneurship, you need as many trusted sources that you can rely on. Some days it works for me, some days it does not. Like today is one of those instances where she's just gonna make tea and and I will just, hopefully the house won't burn down. So that is just one of those times. And I show myself some grace because we're not perfect throughout that process. So I really appreciate you sharing that, because oftentimes entrepreneurship, it looks perfect when individuals post, but this is the reality: motherhood, being wives, but running businesses because you want to create long-term and generational wealth for your families.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you hit the nail on the head. I do have one of the most biggest trustworthy systems in place. And I think a lot of people have this misconception that, well, if I'm an entrepreneur, I either A, have to be with my child all day, or B, I have to be able to make enough for a nanny. And those two kind of issues, I'm like, or you could just have people you really trust and love. And to be very, honest, we navigated our living and purchasing property around our son and his life. A lot of people don't talk about that. It may be great. Yes, we purchased a property and it's great for generational wealth, but we purchased in a specific district because of our son. We purchased, we know that this is going to benefit him. A lot of the times it's not to be rich. It's because I need him to go to the right school.
Right.
So not a lot of people see that. They just see the, oh my God, you're doing so wonderful. Yeah.
But don't know that there's strategic planning that goes into every decision that you are making.
They don't know that I really want a nice house with 3 floors. I could afford it, but I can't buy it right now because that doesn't fit the plan. They don't see the sacrifices of wants versus needs.
So let's talk about this. So you mentioned real estate, but you also mentioned your consulting business.
Yeah.
Um, what were your startup costs year one for your consulting business? And you did the snuckle because I know it's coming. Because people don't like people be like, well, you look. I'm like, well, I did this and I did this and I pulled this and my startup costs look different than someone else's. So
Yeah. Yeah.
sharing.
Whew, I'll just say how much I started with in my bank account. I'll start there. I started with $240.
Mm,
Foolish as day. Okay. I didn't have anything, but I knew that I wanted to build something that eventually 10 years from now would be another Deloitte or another Leidos that I could sell off and live in the Cayman Islands, right? So when I started the firm, it was $240. My husband was like, you can put more money in there, like you don't have to do this. But I actually started it with the 240 because that was the price of membership for bark.com, which is you can get like consulting work. And I was like, I'm just gonna pay for this membership. I just need $240. Started my business account. And not knowing that, of course, there would be more, like we talked about, like insurance and all these things. So year one, only reason I know this is because we looked at our profit loss statements recently. I would say about $6,000, a little under 6,000, and the reason being is honestly, as you gain more work, you spend more to build. And a lot of people think like, well, if I'm making more money, then I should be fine. But in reality, once you start making more, you actually have to spend more to maintain it. So I learned that very quickly. 6,000 versus now, I mean, I'm averaging at an annual cost to maintain like $15,000 in, that's not including like employees, just in regular maintenance of the company. So I think that is critical difference. It's almost double, but I had not known. I was spending as the issues come rather than being at the forefront of, well, we've already budgeted insurance. If we add on X amount of employees, it's going to cost us this much. If commuting from this site to this site, our office space, like those things were not fixed for year one. But as you go at it, the prices definitely increase. I'll tell you that much.
Now you mentioned insurance. What was some of your other costs that you would include, for those who want to actually start the process from your recommendation?
Yeah. So as an HR consultant, I'll tell you a small cost and I'll tell you like a large cost. So small cost that seems so simple that we never pay attention to is like Adobe Sign, Adobe Pro, right? We're so used to having Adobe for free. And I think right now it's like $26 a month, but it's essential because when it comes down to government contracts, a lot of the documents have to be electronically signed or like DocuSign, so people pay like, I think $16 for DocuSign. Those are fixed in your budget for the year. You need them because you're constantly signing legal documents. Now, large part of it that people don't like expense outside of employees, for me, would have to be insurance. You have to pay a ton of insurance as you deal with the government because you're insuring not your company, you're insuring the government that in the case your laptop is stolen, you have to have a certain amount. So let's say for, when you get your car insurance, you get car insurance that covers you for $100,000. Well, with the government, they're looking for a $5 million coverage to make sure that you're not going to mess up this contract, right? There's not going to be any errors and omissions. And so those costs, they can, depending on how many employees you have, you can range from a $300 a month, or I'll say $600 a month, up to, it could cost you $10,000 a month, depending on the project, depending on the scope, depending on, is it international? Because we just introduced that part into our company as international work. All of that is probably the biggest expense that I have that I never accounted for year one. So I felt it afterwards, and I wish someone had said like, hey, you need, insurance. But the middle part that I love, that I'll never stop paying for, is a CRM system. So I pay for a CRM system because it's easier to manage my clients and my projects. And I can divvy up to the team, hey, like, you got to get this and you got to do that, whatever, and assign them. And that has probably organized the structure of the business, which has also helped with execution. So that's a little bit of a cost depending on what type of system people get.
And so for everyone that is paying attention, your back office needs to be solid. Whether you are functioning as a solopreneur or you are, thinking about expanding your business, you need to have your operations. And one of the other things that I will add is the importance of how you actually manage your finances. Oftentimes, individuals just use, Excel spreadsheets or not. I say invest in a system that allows you, and also have your squad around. Like, you need an accountant, you need a lawyer, you need a consultant. And I also say as well, and am a huge advocate, is depending on which city and state that you develop your business, tap into the local and state resources that they have available for free. Because oftentimes you may not be able to, have immediately, costs for insurance, but you should have your budget items, lined up as to and projecting what should be there. But I have to tell you, those free resources sometimes help you out to help you scale your business. And don't be ashamed to take advantage of them, because that's what they're there for. They allocate funding and resources to do so.
And I think a lot of people, when we start off with Excel, I personally cannot fathom managing expenses on Excel just because there's too many swipes going on with the cards. I'm like, between the gas card and the business credit card and I'm like, I can't. But I will say QuickBooks has a pretty good and a very fair, I think it's like $12, $13 a month. I could be lying, don't quote me. But I think it's a great starter. And I do have an accountant on speed dial because I know my weaknesses and where I struggle. And so she understands where I need to stay in line. And I talk to her a lot. Actually, I just talked to her before I got on this computer. Because you really need someone that understands the laws in order to help. The things that we didn't account for, I personally never accounted for, is how much I have to give Uncle Sam my hard-earned money.
Yep.
And he gets a lot of it. So a contract could be $100,000, but you're not seeing $100,000 when Uncle Sam comes in the room. So definitely.
Well, you need a qualified individual to help you, manage those expenses, manage, I just shake my head, because every time you know what you're doing, but definitely when you have to cut checks to the government, it makes you sick to your stomach sometimes. At least for me. So in 2020, how did you adjust your business model? Because, we were at the height of the pandemic. Was curious about whether you had to make any adjustments, or did your business grow during that time?
It blossomed immensely. I think for me, the reason why it blossomed immensely is because there was no more distraction, right? There was a slight pause, but anybody who, one big recommendation I would tell to anyone is don't have such an emotional tie to your business. Because a lot of business owners will be like, well, I'm just thinking about designers, right? Like, oh, I'm tied to this fabric or whatever, but hey, that doesn't work for this season. So you have to pivot, right? I'm very keen about understanding that this business I'm going to build, I'm going to love it. I love what I do, but I also understand I have to pivot very quickly. So in the eye of the storm, I just redirected a lot of my energy more towards the government rather than private clients. I had already had like worked out the government side of it. And so I just dug deeper, and I incorporated our services to COVID. So a lot of people stuck with, if you're an HR consultant, you were like training and development, right? Like, let's say that's a service you offer and they just stuck there. Whereas I really focused on employee training for COVID-19 responses, whatever. Everything I did was surrounding COVID responses. And the ability to pivot so quickly is what helps propel. Because now going into 2020, this is going to be the fiscal fourth quarter for the federal government, 2021. Technically, October is 2022 for the federal government. So going into 2022, definitely at a better spot to leverage, because we did a lot of pivoting, a lot of reassessments. And then also, I think I took a lot more risks because there was a lot more aid available in case the risks failed. I recently used the SBA State Trade Expansion Program to go to Africa to start business there. And so that has been successful. So everything that I have done thus far has been tactical, but I feel like the pandemic has given the business a cushion because the help is there. So it's like, well, if this failed, I could just be like, hey guys, I need help. That is not existent for a regular entrepreneur. And I know a lot of people take advantage of it.
I'm excited. I'm actually excited to learn more. I guess I'll have to hire you to kind of figure out, the other stuff that you just mentioned about the state. You said it was the State Trade
Expansion Program. Yeah.
That's out of New York.
Yeah. So essentially the Small Business Administration obviously is federal. And so SBA disseminates funds to different states, well, all the states, and they have what's called the State Trade Expansion Program. So STEP. And so within each state, the funds look different, right? Not everybody gets the same amount. Now, the qualifications are different across different states, but mostly it's like you've been in business for a year and you want to go do business overseas, then they will approve. And, recently they it covered the hotel, flight, and your responsibility essentially is to come back and be able to contribute to the U.S. economy, right? That is the goal of the State Trade Expansion Program. It's that you're bringing in money into the U.S. That's it. So as long as I had the opportunity to make great connections and meet with some really good ministers, and so that will essentially help my business expand to a more international platform.
That's exciting. And I look forward to seeing what you do with that. Yeah. Wow. That's really exciting. So what are some realistic tips that you can offer? So I know that we talked about the financing, but just some other additional tips that you can offer to those who want to follow within your footsteps.
Understand and know what services you offer, like know them, right? Write them down in bullets if you have to. But I think a lot of people say, HR consultant, but like my business, I do not do benefits, right? Management. I do not do recruitment for businesses that are more than 10 people. There's so many things that I know that I do not do, which helped me figure out what I do want to do. And so understand what you offer, write it down. I put it on a big white jumbo paper and stuck it to my wall, because then you don't waste time taking any and every business. You're taking the businesses that you want to take. The second thing that I would definitely, like, big tip, is understand your audience. So I purposely market to the government, right? So I don't invest a lot. I do invest some time in social media, but I also understand that when the the operating officers or the contracting officers, when they go to work, they can't click on an Instagram when they're at work. They more so have to use the computer. So I spend more time writing white papers and case studies and research docs for government agencies, because that's my biggest client, right? That's my big fish. That's what I want more of. And because I know that, I cater to what they like. And so understand and know what services you offer, and then understand and know your audience. How do they purchase? What do they purchase? When do they purchase? This is going into Q4 of the federal government. So consulting work is what's considered simplified acquisitions and micro purchasing. Those are the smaller purchases under 250,000, under 10,000. That's my realm. That's where my business thrives. So I know that this quarter is where I will not have a great summer. I will not enjoy my summer. This is where it happens for me. And then I understand my numbers, and everybody can see it. If you look at the profit loss statement, you'll see right around October, it just goes down, right? I just know that there's nobody in the federal government office until the following January. So really knowing exactly who buys what you sell is key.
And you obviously had to go through all the certifications at the federal, city, and state level in order to be able to access these. Would you be able to describe those certifications that you have for those who may not be aware?
Yeah, so on the federal side, I am certified as a small business under the U.S. Small Business Administration. And that's a very pretty simple process. It's like you just register your business as an entity with SAM.gov. And then I am also a women-owned small business in the eyes of the federal government. I am a hub historically underutilized business, or historically underutilized zone. And then I am also, so that's on the federal side. On the state side, state and city side, I'm a minority business enterprise and a woman business enterprise. The big thing is to work with the federal government, you actually don't need any certification. You actually just need to be registered, provide your business bank statement or your business bank information, and then get to work. But I use the certifications as a leveraging tool in order to really get the business that I need.
Are you doing any trainings on this?
I do. So I have a monthly master class that's called the Black Bunker, where people can actually access it now. You can purchase. My February class was 5 hours. My March class was about 3 hours. And the last class we did it with go-to guy Timberlake, which is a huge, he has a huge impact on the federal government space, and he taught the class. And that one was about 4 hours as well. So I have them sprinkled in there. We were supposed to have a master class this month, but with being in Africa, it didn't work out. So we're trying to plan it out for next month.
And so where could we find you, either on social media and or your website, so that we can follow up if we have additional questions?
Yeah, so my website is www.CHRISTLIEG consulting.com. And if you want information about the class, you can click the link that says Black Bunker. Or you can set up an appointment with me. I do provide free 20-minute consultations. And then also I am on Instagram at Christlie G. So same thing, CHRISTLIEG. My company Instagram is Christlie G Consulting. Again, same spelling. LinkedIn, I'm Christlie Ganthier. And on Twitter, which I always have to look it up all day long because I can never remember. I think it's like Christlie G Con. So yeah, Christlie G Con. That's what it is. Wow, I guess really well. Which is it's like a play on Christlie Ganthier and Christlie government contracting. So if you look me up, Twitter, everywhere, I'm available and always willing to teach and train. I do have private clients that I train as well.
And so with that, I want to thank you so much, Christlie, for taking time out of your busy schedule to share a portion of your journey. I know that there's so much more that we can unpack, and would love to have you come back again to share any additional updates, particularly with this new venture in Africa, because that sounds pretty amazing. And so thank you so much for your time. Look forward to talking with you again soon. Take good care.
Thank you. Thank you.